Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we jump into the webinar, let me give a quick overview of Fitbud for those of you who might be new here. Fitbud is designed to elevate your fitness business by providing a personalized app on iOS and Android and a dedicated customizable website on your domain. Beyond day to day operations, our platform is an all in one solution for seamlessly running your fitness business and establishing a solid digital brand. Don't miss out our 30-day free trial. You can schedule a demo with our expert through the link that is shared in the chat. Now let's welcome Sarah Safari, CEO of Influencer Nexus, the trailblazing influencer marketing agency with a proven track record in driving guaranteed results for tech, hospitality, and B2C brand. Sarah combines strategic creativity, data, and tech to elevate exposure on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, making her a powerhouse in brand building and scaling. So without further delay, let's welcome Sarah to the virtual stage. Over to you, Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction, Ashwarya.
Well,
Hey guys, just a quick thing. I know some of you guys are asking if you're going to get the recording. We do this monthly together, and so yes, we always have Fitbudd sending over the recording after via email. So if you absolutely cannot be on for live, then yes, you will get the recording. But if you can be on, I do like to answer some questions and give you insights live. So if you can be on, that would probably give you some value as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share a screen. We'll dive into a little bit of my background so you guys have an idea of who the heck is talking right now, and then from there we'll dive into the core of today, which is really being able to generate clients online or offline using your content. Before I do that, I'd like to get a little bit of an idea of where you guys are all at. So if we can get, so in the chat box, you guys are chatting with us right now. So in the chat box, if you can give me a 1 if you currently have online clients, and a 2 if you're purely offline, meaning that your clients are in person, but you want to, generate clients online now or eventually. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 2s. I'm getting some 1s. Give me a 3 if you have a hybrid model, as in you have in-person clients, but they also do a little bit of online. Okay, we got a good mix today. Okay, so we got a little bit of everybody. It's interesting. Usually it will skew to kind of one direction, but I'm going to try to speak to all of you guys, and then throughout, if there's questions, I'm going to pause throughout, and then I'll see if the things are making sense. If there's any things that you guys want to review, we'll go over it, and then we'll do like a little Q&A at the end as well. So no worries there. 5 online, 3 offline. Awesome, Remy. Thanks for letting me know. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and share. I am going to share desktop. You guys are going to see my messy desktop for a second before I share. Awesome. So here we are. How to leverage social media to drive 10 plus clients every single month in your business. Okay. So just to give you guys a quick intro, I actually was a personal trainer for corporate gyms for a little bit over 5 years. I was working really long shifts, so I'm sure any of you guys who have worked for corporate gyms can relate to this to a degree. I was working really long shifts. I was trading dollars for hours, and I was not happy. At the beginning, it was exciting once I got certified, but once I got into really understanding what corporate was like, I was like, this sucks. Like, I didn't get into this trade dollars for hours. They're taking 50% of my cut. Like, I don't want to be doing this, right? So I ended up dropping out of college, paid a coach $10,000 at the time. That was just the first coach that I had paid. And I opened a gym. And the reason why I invested in a coach was because I had a degree in health science and I knew nothing about business and how to run a business, but I knew everything about how to train clients and get them incredible results. And so one of the biggest barriers I noticed with a lot of trainers that I've worked with is like, I'm a freaking great coach. I just don't know how to consistently bring in clientele, and then more so higher paying clientele, not not the troubled ones that complain about payments and all these other things that come with it, but we can dive into that. So I personally, at the time, I needed to get out of the hustle. And so what I actually ended up doing by opening the gym was creating a really high paying and high stress job for myself. And that wasn't because gyms aren't profitable. They are. Online is a bit more profitable because the margins are really high and the spend is really low. But I was bringing in money at the time, mainly because of, not because I was great and phenomenal at what I did. To be honest, at the time, I had very little skill, but I ran Facebook ads, which were really cheap at the time. And it was very easy for me to convert clients once I was able to get them in the gym. And I sold a high ticket service. And in doing that, I started making a lot of money very fast. And I'll just be transparent. I had, the first month I brought in $20,000, went to 30, and then it went to 40,000, and it kind of had stayed at $40,000 for a little while before I shut everything down. So I knew I needed more time freedom and I wanted location freedom. The whole reason why I had hired that coach was because I wanted to go online as a coach, but that coach that I had hired said, you got to open a gym. And I had just paid him 10 grand, remember? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do everything this guy says. And so I did. So I opened up that gym. I was really miserable in doing that. So I shut down the gym and I started from scratch online because I was tied in what I call golden handcuffs. And so it was the first time that I had this discrepancy between, okay, money's coming in, but I have literally zero time. I'm miserable. And just to be honest, I literally remember days before I would go into my night shift because I was working so many hours, and I would literally cry before I went into the gym to train clients because I didn't know how to handle this success, so-called success that was coming in, while at the same time just not feeling happy or fulfilled in what I was doing. And because while I liked training clients, working anything 12, 14 hours a day is absolutely exhausting. And when you feel tied to it, it doesn't start feeling as good as you would think that it would, even when you love that work. So since then, I've grown another multiple six-figure online fitness business. I then grew my personal coaching business to over 7 figures, over multi-million, and it helped 1,000+ coaches take their fitness business from anywhere from $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 a month to $10,000 to $20,000 a month consistently in their business. And just for anyone who's like, what do you mean $10,000 to $20,000 a month? It wasn't a low ticket service. So if you remember, I never sold low ticket. I sold high ticket, and I taught my clients how to sell high ticket. And for anyone who's curious, you can absolutely use the Fitbudd app and adjust that to selling a high ticket model. Okay. Since then, I've obviously been featured in a bunch of publications. I won't name them. And I'm partnered with some of the biggest PT certifications. So ACE, NASM, ISSA, ASFA, anyone from Canada here at BCRPA. I'm partnered with a lot of them, and I do something similar to webinars in hopes of really trying to help what I didn't know back then and try to kind of give you guys some insights. So hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and be able to just do it right the first time, or maybe the second. Okay. So let's dive in. And guys, just FYI, every so often, I'm just going to quickly pause just to check in with you guys, check out the chat, make sure all is good. So don't be afraid to write in there. I'll take a look as soon as we take a pause. Okay. So now diving into the main kind of idea of today, which is being able to market yourself using social media. And to give you some context, when I first started, I didn't just not know much about social media. I didn't like social media, as in I was that girl that was like, oh my God, don't tag me. I don't want to be in this, like that kind of a thing. And so I did have to aside from learning the skills, I had to make a complete mindset shift as like, what are the things that are going to drive business? And what is at the time, the fastest thing that's going to drive business for me? And I had made the decision at that time that for me, the fastest thing was going to be social media. And so that's the focus of today. So the question is, which channels are the best? So I have fitness coaches ask me all the time, like, what channel should I be on? Should I be on, TikTok? Should I be on LinkedIn? Should I be on Instagram? Should I be Snapchat? Whatever. And there's a few answers to that. The one is, the one that you like the best, right? Because like if you don't like the channel that you're on and those clients are on that channel, if you hate it, it doesn't matter. It's like the same thing that you would say to a client. We know that if you eat chicken and broccoli after eating burgers every single day for many years, you're going to lose weight. But if you hate doing that, which most people do, it's not going to last. So why would you do it in the first place? Now think of that reverse in terms of business. Why would you be on a channel that you hate if you know it's not going to last because you hate it, right? So first thing to think about. Second thing is the channel that has the highest proportion of your ideal clientele. Saying that with a grain of salt. So it almost seems like the two are contradictory, but it doesn't matter if let's say 60% of your clientele are on Instagram and you hate Instagram, you shouldn't be on Instagram. You will still be, and let's say you love TikTok, you will still be able to attract perfect clients being on TikTok, even though there's a lower proportion of them, because of how you will show up on that channel, because you know that you actually enjoy it, and it will show in everything that you do. Okay. And the third thing is, this is the most important in the sense of like just getting quicker results and getting your foot off the ground, is if you already have credibility on a specific channel, if you don't, no worries. But if you do have even a little bit of credibility on a specific channel, start with that first and use it as a tool to grow everything else, because you can now start running traffic to different channels, different social media channels as a result of doing that. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Oh, hold on. There we go. All right. So talking about the step-by-step process to turning social media into a main client acquisition channel. Okay. So this is important. We ran a paid ads webinar last month. And in running that, we actually had this slide where we talked about like, who's the avatar? Avatar being the ideal client, the client persona. People call it different things, but it just means like who your main demographic is and the person you're trying to target, right? So you need to know your client like the back of your hand. This is really, really important, guys, because if you don't and you skip this step, everything else is going to struggle along the way, right? So you want to know things like what's keeping them up at night. Who do they envy? What do they want more than anything in the world? What social media platforms are they on? Etc., etc. Like really asking these questions. I'll dive into how to really understand your avatar in a second here, but just really to get you guys thinking, these are the most important things. And by the way, a lot of you mentioned that you were either hybrid or in person. It is even more important for those of you who are hybrid and in person and you want to go online to know this like the back of your hand. Because client acquisition and in client acquisition, messaging is really important. Messaging being the words you use to attract a certain person. The way that you talk will attract a certain type of person. I give a lot of relationship examples. I'm about to give one right now. If you are a single male or female on Bumble, for example, and you have your profile photos and you have your written part, right? So the profile photos is your creative and the written part is your copywriting. How you present yourself in terms of your image and how you write about yourself in terms of your copy is directly going to attract the type of man or woman you're going to bring in for dates or for chatting, whatever it might be. It's the exact same thing here, right? How you present yourself on social media will attract either high quality clientele, and by high quality, I mean ones that are willing to actually pay for your service and can afford it. That's what we call high quality, okay? Or it's going to determine whether you bring in low quality clientele. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so before I move on to the next one, in terms of why do you need to know this for social media, I'm going to pause real quick here. Let me see if I can see your guys' chat without. Yes, I can. Absolutely. Awesome. Sessions on a calendar. Okay, we're talking about I'm going to pause real quick. Any comments or questions so far, or is this making sense? If it's making sense, just give me a yes in the chat box. If there's a question, just write out the question and I will pause and answer it. Yes, we got one yes. Maybe some make us we got some yeses coming in. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Resources to understand our ideal client. Do you have any recommended resources to understand our ideal clientele? Yes, I absolutely do. I'm going to dive into that in 1 second. So I will absolutely, not in 1 second. I don't know what slide it's on. If I miss it, remind me to come back to it. But I do believe I have that in here, and I have some direct things that you can literally walk away from this webinar and really learn about your ideal clientele. How long did it take me to find my client? Are paid ads necessary? So how long did it take me to find? I think you mean my ideal client when you say how long did it find my ideal client? Well, it depends. I mean, I've had several businesses at this point, and the process is always the same. So how long it takes really depends on the nature of the business and the approach that you take to find the ideal clientele. I will give you guys some insights as to how you can, in your business, find some ideal clientele. And typically, the clients that I work with, a lot of coaches, they like to work with someone who was an older version of themselves, right? Because they understand the pain points very well, and it makes it really easy for them to relate to that customer, and so they choose to do that. That doesn't mean you have to do that. I didn't do that. I helped nurses and first responders when I was doing coaching, and I was never a nurse, nor was I a first responder. But I knew the pain points, and I knew how to talk to that clientele. So ultimately, all you need is passion, qualification, aka they're able to afford you, and then understanding their pain points. Those are the main things. Okay. Are paid ads necessary? Paid ads are not necessary, but they're a great way to scale. So if you want to originally start, and let's say it really depends, like let's say if you have tons of money and you have a lot of capital, and for you want to spend money and you don't want to have any presence on social media, that's a perfect recipe to run paid ads. And you have the skill, aka when you take sales calls, you're pretty good at converting. If you're not very good at converting, you don't know how to convert via sales calls, you don't have a lot of practice there, you don't have any capital to be able to allocate to that, capital, money, whatever, then it's not the right place. So is it a good way to scale? Absolutely. Whether you should do it or not is going to be really dependent on where you're at with your finances and where you're at with your business. Okay. So hopefully that answered the question. That's kind of like the most specific I can get, Rob, without fully knowing your situation. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then I will continue from there. Okay. I will come back. I think I just saw a longer question that was in there, so I'm gonna come back and look at that. No worries, guys. All right, we did this already. Why do you need to know this for social? So the failure or success of your social media deal flow are in large part dependent on how well you can hit your client pain point and prove that you are the vehicle that will solve their pain points, right? So it's not just understanding their pain points. So I just mentioned the pain, all that stuff, but it's about showing that you're the solution. You're the vehicle that's going to take them from where they are now to where they want to be. Okay, so whether that's weight loss, whether it's feeling confident, whether it's having sex with the lights on, whether it's being able to walk up the stairs without feeling completely out of breath, whether it's feeling like a good mom or a good dad because right now they feel guilty because when they get home, they don't have any energy to play with their kids. Like, I'm just naming random ones, but like these are some of them. And I know them like the back of my hand because I've done like 1,000 fitness sales calls at this point, right? So it's just really getting yourself to a point where you can understand it like the back of your hand. And just like an FYI, when I've had sales teams, they're training every day, aka they're doing mock calls every single day until they get excellent at doing this. So if you've ever been hard on yourself in terms of like, you know, I'm not converting, or I don't know how to handle a sales conversation, whatever it might be, it takes skill and strategy, of course, but then it's repetition. Just like think of anything you sucked at before and now you're super good at it. Like that's it. You just got to be willing to suck long enough to get good. Embrace the suck because it's part of the process of getting good. Okay. That's just a little side note there for you. Next thing is, using AI, right? Okay, so we know AI is a big thing right now. So why are we not using it? Like, so I have, a lot of clients are like, oh, I should be using it for this. I should be using it. I'm like, yeah. So one of the first things is like in your copywriting. So copywriting, for anyone who's not familiar, for those of you who are, just kind of do something real quick while I explain this, is really just writing. It's persuasive writing with the purpose of getting someone to make a particular action or decision. Okay, so it's a little bit different than just regular writing. Of course, it's not creative writing, whatever it might be, but it's marketing. It's written form marketing. Okay. Second thing is for content strategy and cohesion. What I mean by that is like, I have a lot of coaches who will say to me, Sarah, like, this is awesome. Like, thank you for helping me with this, but like, I don't know what content to create. But then the whole idea is like, you got to take a step back. The content that you create is going to be dependent on what content your ideal client needs. That's why you need to understand your client like the back of your hand. Because if you don't understand your client like the back of your hand, you're going to have a hard time creating content. Okay. So the third thing is pain points alongside interviews. So this is where I think somebody asked at some point, how do I learn a little bit more about my ideal client or who my ideal clientele is? I'm about to give you the simplest way to do this. It's via interview questions. Okay, and I'll give you guys even one more if you want. I have like a set of interview questions that we would give like our clients once they joined to ask their ideal client. I can send that over to you guys. I'll put my Instagram at the end there, and I can just send it to you guys for free if you want it. But essentially, what you're doing is you're finding, okay, I think this is my ideal client. Let's say you have no idea who your ideal client is. I think this is my ideal client. You get them on an interview. You ask them a series of questions to understand their pain point, understand their struggle, understand what they've tried before, and understand what they need, and most importantly, what they think they need. Okay, so I had a call with one of my clients the other day, and he was saying that like, we know that the clients and he runs athletic gym, and he said, we know that the clients need this, they need skills training, they need this, right? And in doing that, even though we know that they need this, and they train kids, so the person they're selling is the parents, even though we know that they need this, the parents think that they just need to play games, right? Like they need to play the sports, whether it's football, soccer, whatever, in order to get better. And so I said to him the same thing that I would say to another client, and that this is this. It doesn't matter what you know they need. I agree with you that you know best what they need. It's about meeting them where they're at what they think they need. This is a really big one, because this happens across coaches all the time. Or, I get on a call and they said, they did keto and they did intermittent fasting, and then they did the starvation, and then they did Atkins, whatever. And like, it doesn't work. They got to make lifestyle changes. Like, sure, you know that. They don't. They want quick results because psychologically humans want instant gratification. It's how we're wired. Your goal isn't to change how humans are wired. Your goal is to meet them where they're at and then teach them after. Because education is very expensive when it comes to marketing, and you will lose deals on education. So what I call it is the chocolate-covered broccoli effect. Meet them where they're at with the chocolate, give them what they want, which is the chocolate, and then give them what they need once they're inside your program, which is the broccoli. Okay, so very, very, very important. I'm going to give you guys one other example, and then we'll move on. Is I'm not sure how Fitbudd does their marketing, but maybe one of your guys' initial incentives is like, oh wow, I get to make my own app, and like it's gonna look like mine, and it's gonna be really professional, whatever. And then you come in and you're like, whoa, they have like a nutrition feature, and like I can train clients online, and they've got an entire exercise library, and like they have support, and I can call them anytime. Like, this is awesome, right? So what do you guys want first? Okay, I want to customize app. I want a way to train clients, blah, 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 whatever it might be. And then you come in and you're like, wait, but there's all these other cool options, payment integration, whatever it might be. And so like, that's what you want to do, right? Meet the client where they're at. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. I'll take a quick pause I think the chat's getting a little, okay. Ingo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I have a sports business, run international camps in Europe, in-person training where I live in Canada. I'm from Canada, represent. Run showcases, events across Canada and planning USA. Looking to start online training to target players worldwide. Have plans to scale and open more branches of business in the future. My question is, how do I avoid confusing clients and giving them too many options without having to sacrifice any of the services I already offer? I want to be a one-stop shop for everything and be a brand. Just so I have an idea, in Canada. Okay, so you're doing in person, you want to move online, you have a lot of offers, you don't want to confuse clients. So, Ingo, I would probably need to have a little bit more intel, but I will give you some immediate advice based off of what you're sharing with me. And if you want to give me some more info after, I'm happy to answer at the end. So, the best way to not confuse clients, if you're handling it on a one-on-one basis, is to diagnose instead of give them a variety of options. So what I mean by that is you're on the right track of thinking in terms of like, I don't want to like give people too many options, because if I give them too many options, then they're going to get confused. It's the same thing. Like, I'm sure you guys have all heard about the jam study, when you give someone 200 jams and make no decision versus if you give them 3 jams and make a decision and buy 1, right? So that's kind of the idea behind this, is really thinking, okay, well, let me get enough intel on where they're at so that I can then diagnose. And based on the diagnosis, I say, based on X, Y, and Z, I think Y program is going to be the best fit for you because of 1, 2, 3. Right? So that's what it would look like on a one-to-one basis. If you're doing one-to-many, how you handle that will be a little bit different. But from like a one-to-one basis, think doctor, think diagnosis. Don't think giving them a list of options, because you're right, it will lead to indecision and people won't do the right thing. Okay. All right. I am going to continue. Okay. Yeah. This is all recorded. Don't worry. I think someone else is asking. All right. Let's move back. All right, so picking your platform. So we briefly talked about this, but like, where are you going to be? Is it going to be on Instagram? Is it going to be on Facebook? Is it going to be on TikTok? There are other channels, obviously, but these are going to be for B2C coaching. These are going to be the most popular and ROI producing, return on investment producing channels that you're going to use, which you guys aren't investing anything but your time at this point unless you're running paid ads. So that's what you want to do. LinkedIn is more of a B2B platform. So I had a few people on the last webinar asked about that. Don't worry about LinkedIn. If you're going to pick a social channel, pick one or a few of these. And if you have no social right now, please don't go picking all of them at the same time. Start with one, get really good at it, and then move on to the next one. Okay. All right. So what type of content should I create, right? So let's say you are at a point where you have done your interview. You have learned exactly what you need to do in order to get people results, and you know the pain points, right? So now there's a few different types of content you want to create. Now, again, the type of content you create is going to be dependent on the channel, meaning the social media channel that you're on, right? So the content that performs on Instagram is going to be different than the content that performs on your personal Facebook page, or the content that performs on your Facebook group or TikTok, whatever it might be. And so while there are similarities across differing channels, you still want to cater to that channel to some degree. Okay. It doesn't mean that you can't cross-share across channels, but at least having a basic idea of what performs on what channel is good to have. And I'm going to give you guys a quick comparison just to give you guys some insight. So your social needs to have the MLR factor. So memorable, likable, results focused. This is incredibly important. Okay. I just realized that I forgot to go through this. So I'm going to quickly go through this. So one type of content is entertainment based. So the most common content I see across any client that I've ever taken on is educational. So you guys are all very good at educational content. I can just tell you this by the amount of people I've worked with. You guys are great at educational content. You're good at talking about exercise physiology. You're good at talking about nutrition. You're good at talking about things that are specific to what you do. Where the struggle typically comes in is when you need to create pain point based content, when you need to create entertainment while educating at the same time. So when people are on a certain channel, you have to think, what are they doing? Right? So if someone is on Instagram, typically they're like not trying to get educated. Sure, there are cases where they are, but majority of people are not trying to get educated on Instagram. Okay. So if we know that, we know if people are there just to kill time, to be entertained, to look at reels while they're on a train or in an Uber or whatever it is that they're doing, then how can we create entertainment content that's going to attract their attention and make them want to click on your page? That's really important. Okay. Second thing is going to be pain point based content. So the best way to do this is to think, okay, here are the 8 pain points across this category, and here are the 8 results for these 8 pain points. That's 8 different pieces of content. Actually, that can be 50, 60, 70 different pieces of content because you can take different angles on the exact same pain point. So that's really important. The third one is authority building. I'm not even going to touch on it because this is what I said is educational. You guys already do it. So building authority via talking about things that you already know, but with a quick twist, because a lot of you guys will talk about like, here are the laws of thermogenesis, and here are compound movement patterns, and here's how to correct your form via deadlift, and it looks like this, and you start using scientific terms. Unless the people that you're training are athletes with kinesiology degrees, don't do that, right? Because it's not about showing that you're smart. It's about helping them understand. So if the goal is to help them understand, then we want to simplify it as much as possible to make sure that they're able to grasp it. I'm going to give you guys one other thing to hit this home, because I think we got a lot of US guys here, is at one point they had done when they had done the election for President Trump, they had done like a test of his lexicon, so the way that he speaks, the way that he talks, and they found out that the way that Donald Trump speaks is at a 5th grade level, but he had the most voter turnout in God knows how many years, right? He was able to attain this, but the way that he spoke was so simplified that he was able to substantially increase the amount of voters that ended up coming, right? And actually voting. People who hadn't voted for 20 years, 30 years. That's a big deal, right? And okay, how does this relate to politics? Because it relates to how you create content. If you can create content that's simple, 5th grade level simple, you're going to be able to get a lot more people. You're going to attract a lot more eyeballs, and you're going to be able to get a lot more clients, because more eyeballs means more clients. Okay. Pause. Is this making sense, guys? Is this hitting home? Any questions, comments? If it's making sense, just give me a yes. If there's any questions, just put it in there for me. Yes. Amazing. Okay, good. All right, guys, if anything else comes in after, just obviously let me know. So, all right, let's go. Next one. All right. So, oh, I already did this. Okay. So I did a quick comparison for you guys just to get you guys an idea of like, what are the strengths of one platform versus another platform, and what does that look like? Okay. So I did Facebook versus Instagram. That I'm not trying to not include TikTok in the mix at all, but just to keep things simple and give you guys an idea of like strengths and weaknesses across different platforms. Okay. All right. So sorry guys, every time I do this, there we go. So the first thing is Facebook has exclusivity, whereas Instagram is a little bit less exclusive. Here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is with Facebook, you can have Facebook groups. Facebook groups generate a lot of money. They do really well if you run them the right way, right? So you can create a VIP community or group, make that exclusive to your community of people who either do work with you or want to work with you. When I was doing it, I had 2. I had a exclusive group of customers that were already working with me and my team. And then I had a group of people who weren't working with me, but we funneled them and warmed them up over time, right? Funneling is just taking a prospective client from cold to warm to hot. Okay, that's it. So that's the first thing. Next thing is Reels perform less on Facebook. Yes, they exist, but they don't do necessarily as well as they would on Instagram. So it's just something to consider. So remember when we talked about like content sharing across other platforms, doesn't mean that if you post a reel on Instagram that you can't post it on Facebook. It just means like consider like, yeah, it's probably going to perform a little bit less on there than it will on Instagram. Okay. All right. And third one is, it's a community builder versus Instagram is harder to build a community. So because of the fact that there's the feature of being able to have exclusivity where you create a private group where they need permission to come in and they have to answer a specific set of questions, making sure that you make your group private, then it absolutely brings community of people who are like-minded and want to work together. So let me give you an example. Let's say you decide that your avatar, your ideal client, are nurses. Okay, and I'm just giving this example because that was one of my ideal clients. Now you have a community of nurses who can relate. They work late shifts. They're 4 days on, 4 days off. They're annoyed because their scrubs are getting tighter. They want to complain about patients, right? Like whatever it is, there's a level. This is what's also good about having a niche and an ideal client is these people can now relate to each other. Aside from it being really easy to market, because when you have an ideal client, you can keep speaking to that person, right? So let me give you an example. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't. If you're on social media, you probably have. If a girl only markets to girls, they use terms girls use with girls. Like, hey girl, have you ever been this and that and the blah, blah, whatever it might be. Or like, they will say things and talk about fashion. They will talk about things that are feminine, more girly things, right? And so if it's a guy marketing to only guys, they're going to say dude things. And they're going to say, even in their lexicon, maybe they're going to use man more. Maybe they're going to use bro more, like whatever it might be. And they're going to cater to different things. Maybe it's catering to masculinity. Maybe it's catering to mental toughness. Maybe it's catering to taking care of your family, whatever it might be. But even from a gender perspective, men and women have different pain points. Even though there are similarities, there are also a lot of differences. One sec, guys. I've got like a heated blanket over here because my office is very cold at all times. I'll show you guys right here, and it's like getting like, oh, it's kind of like being hidden by the background, but anyways, but it's getting like super hot, so I had to turn it off. Okay, so those are the biggest things there. All right, I'm going to go over this before I take a pause. All right, so just so you guys have an idea, even though we're talking about social media right now, there is only 6 ways to get clients. Okay. And this just keeps things really simple and concise for you guys to be able to understand. And I wish I understood this, right? Because maybe some of you guys hate social media so much and it's a make or break for you and you don't want to be on it. The amount of coaches that I know in this industry that will say, well, I don't care if you don't like social media, this is how you're going to get clients. And if you don't want to get clients, then don't do this. I think that's ridiculous. And that's ridiculous because there's more than one way to get clients, right? And if you don't like a certain type of way, you can use the other way. And if most of you want 6-figure or multi-6-figure or 7-figure businesses, then you can get there with one channel. One channel. You can diversify if you want, but you can get there with one channel. I got there with paid ads. That was it. Then I diversified. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So first thing, earn media. So your content attracting prospective clients, right? So this is what we're talking about right now. It's the first thing is that I have in here. Second thing is owned media. So that's list things that you own. So if you're not new, you're going to have some of this. It's going to be your email list, your text list, your Facebook group. Even with your Facebook group, you got to be careful with that because if your Facebook gets shut down, the group won't get shut down, but you will no longer be an admin. You'll have to create a new Facebook in order to be able to get admin access. Okay. Third thing is affiliates and partnerships. So partnering with a company that hosts your ideal client. So for example, if you're targeting real estate professionals, then you can partner with Keller Williams. Maybe some of you guys don't know who that is, but let me give you an example that's directly related to you guys. If you are doing a, let's say, a fitness program or whatever, maybe you're going to partner with, what's it called? food programs, or maybe you're going to partner with nutritional meal prep companies, right? And this is just one example. I could give you like 20 of different partnerships that you can have, right? So you can see right now, like one of our partners is Fitbudd. And so prior, I didn't have any partnerships, right? And it took time to build, but it is absolutely a great channel, because think about it this way. That person who already has that client, so let's give a meal prep company as an example. They already have that client. That client already trusts them. And so now you're coming on as a partner with this client that already trusts you. And when you come on with that, there's already a level of credibility and trust built for you. It's the same thing as if a friend of yours recommends a movie to you, a physical therapist to you, whatever it might be. You're going to trust that more than if you saw an ad or if you saw it on Google, whatever it might be. So think about it that way. Okay, referrals, this is word of mouth. And oddly, this is one that I notice people don't use, especially when they get into the online world, which is very odd because you can really start getting a lot of clientele just doing this alone. I have a lot of colleagues that build their business literally just from doing this. Okay. Second here. Okay, just making sure we're not running slow on time. Next one is DM outreach. So a lot of people don't like this, and a lot of people don't mind it. So it just really depends on your personality. So this is called outbound, right? So it's outbound. It's reaching out to prospective clients, starting a conversation, see if there's an area where you can support them, and then seeing if you can fill that gap and getting them on a call and converting them into a client. It's a skill. It has to be learned. If you don't know it yet, it's okay. You can learn the skill, okay? The third one, and the last one is paid ads. And so I've talked about this briefly throughout this, and that's just running paid ads via, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, whatever your channel is. I have ran millions of dollars worth of ads for ourselves as well as clientele on Facebook as well as on Instagram, and there are different kind of ads that you can run. We did a webinar on this. It's recorded. It was literally an hour just talking about this, so I'm not going to dive into it too much. If you have any questions on it, I'm sure that Fitbudd can reshare that recording with you. Okay. All right. So you can see, I said here, not all of these methods are meant for you, and all of them are perfectly valid. It's about finding what aligns or works best for you, whether it's your personality type, whether it's what you like the most, whether it's what you're most comfortable with, whether it's where your skill set is. Like, find what that is for you and then do that. So for example, I like doing podcasts. I like being on video. I'm relatively comfortable with how I speak and how I articulate myself. I'm also good at writing, but I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, right? So I've written articles for different publications, but I find it gruesome and I find it time consuming. And every time I'm about to do it, I get that like procrastination energy that we all know of, right? So for me, it's really easy to be able to communicate with people via video or essentially spoken word. And so you have to find what is that for you and what does that look like, and then lean in to what you're already good at and feeling comfortable with, because there's always a space for that. Okay. I'm going to pause because I've been talking a lot real quick. Is this helpful, guys? Okay. Are these 6 weeks getting clients in priority order? Okay. Awesome. I'm glad I answered it. Cool. Move the chat box. Okay, I will make sure to do that. I thought I did. I will do that next time. Any questions? If there's not any questions, just like, if this is helpful, just write helpful below so I know that it's actually valuable for you guys. And if not, I can switch the content. So this is helpful. Just give me a helpful. Okay. Okay, perfect. I did see a question come in. Don't worry, I didn't miss it. I will answer that real quick. Would you recommend spending to reach target audience? How many impressions do we need to convert into 10 high-paying clients? 10 paying clients, not high-paying clients. Okay, so you're not gonna like this answer, but it's really gonna depend on your skill level. So what I mean by that is I can get somebody 50 calls and they convert 5, or I can get someone 50 calls and then convert 15 or 20, right? So given that quality is the same, so converting is going to be dependent on how good you are at follow-up process and being able to convert both on the front end and on the back end. So how many you convert, given that the lead quality is good, is so dependent on how you run your lead funnel and how you take those calls once you already have someone on a call. And if they don't convert, how you are at nurturing them after they're off the call. Typically, a lot of coaches aren't the greatest at nurturing leads. They just take what's on the front end, take, and then let go of whatever's on the back end. They're losing like 80% of their income because they're just so front end oriented, meaning that they just deal with the traffic that's coming in now. If they don't buy today, but maybe they might buy in a month, they just throw it out. So like those things considered are really important in your conversion rate, let's say over 6 months or a year. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So hopefully that answered the question a little bit. So you recommend getting them on a call, like having a call in DMs and then setting up a scheduled call in Calendly or something like that. So that's one way, right? So when we talked about is getting them on a call via DMs is one way. And there's a lot of other ways. So yes, that is one way of acquisition, is getting them on a call via DMs, having a conversation and converting from there. There are a lot of other ways to do it too. But yes, that is absolutely one way of being able to get clientele. And it is a relatively faster way, but it requires volume. So hopefully that helps. All right, let me move this. Okay. So next thing, to test what works, only change one variable at a time. So this is something that's said a lot with paid advertising, and it applies to organic too. Organic meaning non-paid, your social, which is what we're talking about today. So what I mean by one variable is you're changing your audience, you're changing your copy, or you're changing your creative. Creative being the image or video that you have, copy being the written content that you have, audience being audience. We know what that is, right? Because if you try to change more than one, you can't measure what works now, right? Because let's say it wasn't working when you were targeting first responders before, and then you switched to moms, right? And you switch to moms, and in switching to moms, you now changed multiple variables. Well, you don't know if it's X that didn't work, maybe it's your copy, or if it's your creative that didn't work. So really just make sure you're changing one. If things aren't working and you need to test, only change one variable at a time to do so. I'm just going to continue going and do any questions at the end just for the sake of time, guys. So don't worry, I will answer questions. I'll just make sure to go till the end. Okay. Oh, I already mentioned this. So copy, targeting, or creative. These are just really quick examples. Like, I'm going to bring this down to make sure I follow your guys' advice. So hopefully you guys can see this good. So just optimizing your platform before running, this is running ads, but before really running traffic, so organic traffic. So you're going to start bringing in traffic by the content that you create, by the groups that you create, by how you run that, by maybe if you do DMs, maybe if you do text, whatever it might be, right? So the question here says, like, would you buy from this if this was you, right? So the whole idea is like, okay, there's no real congruency to this page. Like, this one's a rough one, you know, and this doesn't look very clean. I can barely see the writing. Like, I just see a thing of food. It doesn't stand out at all. Like, you have to understand that you have to ask yourself and be really honest is, would I buy from me if I saw me online? And if the answer is no, you got to switch things up, right? And I had this one time, and as I was like, would I be in my own free Facebook group? And this was years ago, and I was like, shit, I wouldn't. I would not be in this group. I'm like, okay, well, what groups am I in that I actually like? And I'm like, okay, this group, they bring real strategy. They bring on guests. I can actually use the pieces of advice they give me and like go back and add it to my business strategy, whatever it might be. And I'm like, that's the group I want to be in. Okay, how can I make my group as good as that? Right. And so just like having an honest conversation with yourself is, would you be in your own acquisition channel? So whatever channel that is. And if the answer is maybe or no, and not a hell yes, that's okay. But you got to change some things up in order to get yourself there. Okay. All right. These are just like some examples of good pages. Okay, clear. Bio is really clear. Here's what I did. Here's my credibility. I've helped 300 ambitious women. Okay, these are the people who I help. I help them build curves. Okay, that's this clearly what her ideal client wants. And then boom, call to action. This is how you work with me. Super clear vibes. Like I know exactly what she's talking about. Page is looking good, clean. She's got testimonials on there. She's got workouts, whatever it might be. Making sure that you're getting like a clean energy onto your page is very, very important. Okay. I'm going to quickly run by this. So the influencer model. So you guys know I run an influencer marketing agency. Oh, let me move this. Make sure. All right. So trust is a lubricant of all sales. So why do you think sponsorships with influencers even exist? It's because of the know, like, trust factor, meaning that they'll take your word on what's good for them because they trust the influencer they follow to the same degree that they would trust a friend or a family member. This is statistically noted, right? Like people are 6 times more likely to buy from an influencer than from an ad or from someone that they don't know that well. That's really important. So the whole goal is, because we know what does that, because that influencer already has a know, like, trust factor, you don't need to be an influencer. You don't need to have thousands of people. But the people that you do have, you want to be able to get them to know, like, and trust you. And the way to do that is to create curated content that's strategically oriented to their likes and the things that they want and need. Okay? That's it. All right. I'm going to switch this. All right, so this is the end of it. We'll pause in a second. So if everything I just said went completely over your head, that's totally okay. Everyone is at a different part of their journey. Hopefully some of it was helpful, and I know different people apply different pieces. Any of that, I try to fill the gaps through the questions and just kind of taking pauses and making sure that I'm doing that for you guys. So hopefully this was helpful. And then these are just like some testimonials. These are some clients that we have helped, right? There's a lot of them. I'll send you guys to a page and you guys can take a look if you feel interested to. But like I said at the beginning, these are just some screenshots and videos that we have, but we've taken clients for anywhere from $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, all the way up to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. And sometimes that's relatively quick, and sometimes it takes some time, right? And so that's just being fully transparent. It really depends on where you're at, and everyone is in their own journey and on different chapters of their book. And so the goal isn't to be like, oh, like this person did really well, where am I at? It's like you will get there, and you can get there. It's just applying the right things to make sure that you do get there. So these are all testaments of people who have been able to do that using the processes that I teach and I have been teaching for a very long time, because I did it, right? I did it for a long time before I started teaching it. And so I come from a place of having been there before I started teaching it. And I think that's a really critical component of anyone who wants to help anybody grow a business. And I do have a little bit of beef with those who try to teach without have had practical experience in doing it themselves, because I think that's really important. Okay. So this is just an invitation. So if you're in a place right now, and let me move this again. See, I got to move it for every slide. So if you're in a place right now where you're ready to grow and scale your business to generate either $10,000 months, or maybe you want to generate your first $6,000 month, wherever you're at, you can go ahead and check out the link and book a call. I will put it in there. I'm not sure if Ashwarya, you're putting it in there or not, but I can put it in there as well. And you'll see the page, you'll see some testimonials, you'll see my transparent price for my more affordable offer. If you want a higher level of support, we can have a conversation about what that looks like. So you can take a look at that page if you feel like I could potentially help you in being able to grow your business, and you need somebody there, want somebody there to really just walk you through the step-by-step of what's needed to be able to scale your business, whether that's with paid ads, whether that's with social media, whether that's with copywriting, sales, what it might be. I've done it all. And so I can support you in making that transition and being able to grow your business either offline, so if it's in person, or online. If the goal is to be able to scale the business going online, I can absolutely help with that too. I think you guys have seen at the beginning, I did both, so I can support with that. And I'm going to pause. I'm going to answer some questions, and then I will put the link in there. So let me pause real quick. Oh, okay, perfect. It's in there already. So you guys see it, influencernexus.com/Fitbudd. So you can click on that link if you're looking for that support and book the call. And let me, in the meantime, answer some questions for you guys.
Before we transition to the Q&A session, Sarah,
Sure.
let me quickly reintroduce Fitbud platform for those who joined late and have yet to explore it. Fitbud empowers your fitness business with a customized app on iOS and Android, serving as the ultimate tool for seamless business operations and robust digital brand building. For those of you who are eager to experience Fitbud firsthand, you can take an advantage of a 30-day free trial. I'll share the booking link in the chat right now so that you can book the demos whenever you're free. Also, please be sure to join our supportive community on Facebook. I'll drop the link to our Facebook community as well in the chat. Over to you, Sarah.
Awesome. I think there are some questions on the Fitbud app as well, just as an FYI. I'll answer the non-Fitbud ones, and then if you wanted to answer any of the Fitbud ones, I'll dive into that. Okay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Fitbud app, but what if you have a decent following on IG and TikTok and you get leads but have trouble converting them over to start training through the app? Please let me know if this makes sense. Thanks so much. Okay, so Danielle, I mean that's not necessarily to do with the app. It depends. I'm assuming you have a lower ticket offer. So if you're not converting, first of all, I typically recommend high ticket offers unless you already have a massive, and I mean like massive following, and you can make good money with a low ticket offer. Okay, so lower priced offer. So that's the first thing, and then I will support. So if first thing to consider is like it's important if you are having a higher ticket offer. So let's say $1,200 and above for a 90-day program, that you have a phone call. Like you lead that landing page to a phone call, and then you convert via a sales conversation. If you are super against high ticket for whatever reason it might be, let's just say that you are just want to stick to low ticket for whatever reason. If it's not converting, it's probably something to do with the landing page, especially if you're sending people directly from Instagram and TikTok who already know you. It's something going on with the landing page. The first thing you want to do is pixel the landing page. Fitbud, I know, absolutely does that, and I know that they're great at supporting you with that. So pixel meaning like finding out like who's going on that page, like really understanding how much traffic every time I make a call to action, how much traffic is running on that page, and seeing like, is there even enough traffic going on it? Because if there's a lot of traffic going on it, it's not converting. It has something to do with the creative and the copy that's on the landing page, and you need to make a switch. Okay. This is, again, if you only want to do a low ticket product. I would recommend potentially doing an A/B test and sending people at random to one variation of the page, sending people at random to another variation of the page, and seeing what does well. But there's a lot of testing that comes in the process of doing this. So hopefully that was helpful, but kind of with the information that I have, that's kind of the main piece of advice I can give you. Can you have multiple coaches accounts on Fitbud? We'll have Aishwarya answer that. What do you consider the threshold for low ticket versus high ticket price for a 90-day program? I know there are multiple variables that go into answering this, but general money amount. Yeah, so this one's actually pretty straightforward. So I would consider anything like 1,200 and above higher ticket. But to be honest, like our clients sell $2,000 to $3,000 programs if they're more advanced and more confident in being able to sell that. But we don't recommend anything lower than $1,500 for 90 days. And that could be online or offline, but typically for the online model, it's $1,500 for 90 days. Okay, that question was answered. Any other questions, guys, or anything that I missed that I can help you guys with? I'm going to pause for 1 second, making sure that I don't miss anything. What's your take on keeping my program simple? For instance, a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month for 500, 1,000, and 2,000 respectively. My opinion is that it's the best to start someone off on a lower commitment, because what's the fear there? If you're providing an incredible service, they're going to want to continue. So what I recommend is to start off with 90 days, so the 3 months, show them that you're badass and that you're crushing it and that they're getting results, and they'll by default want to join with you on a 12-month model. So I would recommend starting off on the lower barrier, getting the sale, and then over time really just showing them like, damn, I got they're like, whoa, this person's great, or I'm getting the results, or whatever it might be. And then from there, you can upsell them to 12 months from there. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to put this link again one more last time for anyone who wants to schedule a call to work with me one-on-one. That's just for those people who could use that support. And then if there's any other questions, we can try to answer in the aftermath. So thanks so much for being on. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys.